Seeing in this election campaign is really a scare campaign from New South Wales Labor about privatisation. Dom Perrottet, the Liberal leader, he's ruled out absolutely further privatisation. So I think it's really sad that we're in a situation where one of the political parties is using a scare campaign against another one rather than having a contest of ideas and policies. Well, I read about this in the paper, but people have been talking to me on the street about this, and I think what we're seeing is some really disappointing commentary around the operation of the Sydney Water Plant, and it's got the real potential for race-related sort of undertones. From my point of view, I know it's really important that Australia's got many assets that are run by all different companies, and particularly Chinese companies, and they've done a really good job in maintaining some of these assets for the people of Australia. And so people have said to me that they've read these articles and they're really worried and they're disappointed that they're seeing that Labor's targeting a company which happens to be Chinese owned. We need investment in this country. Well, look, there's been way too much anti-Chinese language in the debate about privatisation. Sure. In 2015, we saw the Labor Party endorsing anti-China ads, and they opposed the investment in New South Wales by Chinese companies. And it's really disappointing. And our community remember some of that, So now we have the Labor Party running a similar campaign against Trinity Water operation of the water plant. And, people still remember. I'm standing on pre-poll all day at the moment. I've been door knocking people and talking to people in the street. And people still remember the Labor leader's campaign in 2019 when he was saying that, that Chinese students with PhDs are taking our jobs. So it's really disappointing. But people remember that there's a residual hurt in the community. So when we see some articles and some commentary from the Labor Party about this, it really raises those sort of those racist undertones that people are really worried about. Like I said, I've been on the polling booth for the last few days, but on the street, but also, through social media channels like not just WeChat, through things like WeChat and Facebook and all others. And someone said to me in one of the messages, that politicians, in order to win votes, they just endlessly use the China threat to create panic. And then one of my other friends on WeChat, they sent me this message and they said the Labor Party is just a racist party. It's full of discrimination against Chinese businessmen. And then they remembered, what the last leader said about, Chinese students. So, I think that the community is still healing from that time from the Labor leader in 2019, and it was really hurtful to the Kogarah community. The Kogarah community is a very multicultural community, more than 30% Chinese, but people from all nations. So, people feel very, very concerned when they hear this sort of racist undertones in the debate. Well, I'm always worried about this because, it's not just the Chinese community, but all multicultural communities. We have one of the most successful, greatest multicultural communities in the world. And this community here, we should be worried about these sorts of scare campaigns because they get out of control and they make certain parts of our community feel like they're not part, they're set aside by some people. And so it's really disappointing. People are worried. I'm certainly worried. And when people make they just go too far and they make really ill-informed comments just for political gain, it really hurts our society and our really strong multicultural community. Well, look, from my point of view, plain and simple, elections should be about a contest of ideas. Political parties should be able to exchange ideas and have a debate about ideas and not bring in outside things like race. We've got some great ideas from our Premier. Things like, Dom Perrottet's the Future Fund for Kids, really gives them the opportunity to access better education, housing. And, our communities want prosperity for our children. So we want to be able to give them something for the future. So ideas like that. Now, I don't mind debating that with somebody because I think it's such a terrific idea, but that's what we should be debating. That, not about whether a company is a Chinese company or not. So, the other thing is I know that people are talking about the cost of living and how that's really impacting. And I think that this government has done so much. Dom Perrottet's had such a strong economic management record of New South Wales, and his strong and long-term economic plan is going to make sure that we can continue to help people with cost of living, with things like the Kids Future Fund account, all of those sorts of things, infrastructure, schools, frontline services. They're the things that we should be debating, not whether a company that runs water is a Chinese company or not.